also just a note that I made. So the first note that I made is that I really appreciate and enjoy that Mr. Hennie draws his responses from his personal experience, and it informs his business approach. And I really like the concept of starting with what you know and using that as a guideline to spot an opportunity or a gap in your specific sector. And my question is to both of the speakers, and it is, what was your process in the beginning of your local or African expansion process, and how did you gauge, or what did you use as a measure for success for your business to evaluate whether or not it was ready for expansion? Because Carl spoke a lot about young entrepreneurs rushing for funding opportunities, whereas they are not yet ready or they still have a lot of groundwork to do. So simply put, how did you know that you were ready for expansion? Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Mark Twain said, he can live a month of a compliment. So thank you very much. Carl, I think that yes, the whole focus is to use your experience, your upbringing, your knowledge in guiding where you're going. You know, if you grow up with a mom that makes dresses, that influence is very important in your life. I think that the opportunity for you to change is not necessarily just an idea. I think if you look at Mossadeck going to university, coming back to Mali, starting with commodities, and then eventually going into hotel. So I think that it always leads to little steps, and that guides you. So with Moladi, obviously I did a lot of hurdle jumping in South Africa. You know, you challenge a very antiquated mindset in construction. Houses were built with brick and mortar. The hotel, the first hotel of Mossadeck was built in 1956 with the French with brick and mortar. So now comes this 29-year-old and says, here's a mold and we cast a wall. So you have a lot of resistance. You have a lot of Mossadeck also speak about the engineers and the architects at university. When they come up, they're full of book knowledge, and they will throw the book at you to say to you why you cannot do what you want to do because it's not in the book. They've not learned about it. So they use their education or their experience in university to measure something new. And it took a long time. You know, I always joke. I said when I started, I had black hair. So it's now been 36 years, and it now really is opening up massive doors. So we've got our first order in Idaho, in America, because America's got a huge housing backlog. But one thing that I found is there's a lovely saying. You get three types of people: those that see when you show them, and those that don't see. So for me, I really don't waste time with people that don't see. So I don't want to convince people. I don't want to try and get acknowledgement from people of what I've been doing for the last 36 years, whether it was right or wrong. I believe it's right. So you've got to have that confidence in you to stand up against people like that. So today, it's really the website, it's word of mouth, it is a trade name. Moladi is a very strong trade name. We don't pay backhanders. We follow Christian principles. We don't cheat people. We all of these things come together that make a good trade name. And I think that also, like Mossadeck said first, don't put yourself first in the developing your business. Develop your business and let yourself be secondary. In South Africa, so many people, when they get a contract, the first thing they do is get 10 girlfriends and buy a new car. So money needs to be spent wisely. And for us, it's been word of mouth, it's been web presence, it's been fulfilling a need. It is very proactive people that approach us. So we don't really have to sell. It's people that recognize the problem. And this is really where, Carl invited Mossadeck and myself to present entrepreneurship. But really, as a young man, I have tremendous respect for Carl. He is a man that's playing a role, putting Mossadeck, myself, in contact with you. And he's seen an opportunity. And so he's not created anything but a window of introducing people. And I think that is very, very novel. And I take my hat off to Carl, because it plays a very, very important role. If I look at the people connecting with us, and I didn't understand a word of French. I think my French is merci. That's about as far as it goes. But people joined with a torch. I mean, that is absolutely wonderful. And if I looked at the passion of how that man spoke, he had prepared his speech, already has the fundamentals of a good entrepreneur. He waited for this opportunity. He knew he had 3 minutes and he stuck to it. And I think all of these attributes is preparation, go to bed late, get up early in the morning, fill yourself with knowledge, surround yourself with people. And this is what I've done over the years. And today we are really in many, many African countries. I have wonderful photos. One of my most treasured is with Carl in our office. And, I've been with President Mbeki. I've been with Archbishop Desmond Tutu. I've been in Mexico. I've been all over, purely on Moladi. And this is something that I could never, ever think about when I was 29. It was developing, focusing on the product. And the product took me to those places. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you, Nicole, for the question. I mean, it's a matter of strategy. As I said, when you want to start that entrepreneurial journey, you have to do your introspection, have a vision, and have a strategy to deploy your vision. When I ventured into hospitality industry, I knew that I was not trained as a hospitality professional. I was trained as a financier, as a manager with a specialization in finance, and I wanted to learn. So when we bought Grand Hotel de Bamako, we refurbished it and we opened. We did quite well, and then we bought land from the government of Mali and we built our second hotel in Bamako, and then we bought a third hotel in Bamako. All this within 10 years. So we decided not to go out of Mali unless we felt that we acquired competence, we acquired skills, we acquired confidence, a very good knowledge of the hospitality industry before we could venture outside Mali. So from 1994 to 2004, we stayed home. We learned. We started with GMs coming from Europe, mainly from France and from Italy, also in Canada. We had technical directors from Europe. So we started importing skills, people who could train our people. And slowly, we were able to manage our hotels without imported skills. So you have to have a strategy. So our strategy was first to learn at home, to make mistakes at home, and then to go outside Mali. So in 2004, we bid for a state-owned hotel in Burkina Faso. We won the bid. And that's how we started our venture outside Mali. We went to Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, Benin, Mauritania, Ivory Coast, Senegal. Today we want to venture into ECOWAS, the 15 ECOWAS countries. So we started a project in Guinea-Conakry. Now we are looking into Nigeria, into Ghana. So basically, to answer your question, it's when you feel comfortable. It's when you feel that not that you master your industry, but at least you understand the fundamentals of your industry. You have financial muscles to leave a setback, because you can go outside your country, for example, and not be as successful as you were back home. So you have to have a financial muscle to support a setback outside once you grow, and also have the teams have the skills. It's very important. Don't venture outside your comfort zone unless you have the people, because it all boils down to skills. You can have the cash, you can have the finances, you can have the projects, you can have the opportunities, but if you don't have the right team, you will fail.
Wow.
Thank you so much for both of your insights. I mean, for me as a creative entrepreneur, because I'm 22 years old, I'm a South African film director, producer, and venturing into the business entrepreneurial space of things, coming from a creative background, has been really challenging. So listening to both of your inputs has been really beneficial. So thank you.
All the best, Nicole. All the best.
Next question that I want to ask now is, what place do you give to digitalization and intra-African trade in entrepreneurial process? If we can follow this program, it is thanks to the digital. After this program, we are surely going to have a community of African entrepreneurs coming from more than 6 African countries. And how can we take advantage of this in business sense, taking into account the fact that we are from different African countries, and talking of intra-African trade, how can our community benefit from that advantage in the business sense?
No, Carl, I mean, yeah, that's why I was thinking about Zuleika. I mean, actually, we don't have a choice. As a continent, we don't have a choice. If we want to create these 20 or 30 million jobs every year, because we have a very young population, and in 2050 will be more than 2 billion Africans. And we need jobs for these people. All these rebellions and terrorist groups, like in the Sahel, in my country, Mali, and the Sahel region. It's not a matter of religion. They call them jihadists. Actually, they are not jihadists. They are just young people who are desperate and who don't have jobs. That's
Absolutely.
it. That's it. It's not a matter of religion or you name it. So, yeah, we need to interconnect the African countries. I wish one day we'll have just one continent and not 54 countries. I wish one day we'll have the United States of Africa. I wish one day we'll have maybe one finance minister, one army, one president, because we'll be, I mean, if we do that, I know that Hennie and I will not live long enough to see that. But if one day we become one continent, one country, definitely will be the number one continent, and Europeans and Americans and Asian will move to Africa. Intra-Africa trade, I think, is less than 15 or 16% according to the statistics. In Europe, it's 70%. That means Europeans are trading among themselves. North Americans are trading among themselves. They have the trade agreement between Canada, Mexico, and America. Asians are trading among themselves. We are not trading among ourselves. As Hennie said, we are importing goods from China instead of commercing between us. If I take my own industry, hospitality, I mean, we'd rather travel to London, Paris, Dubai instead of vacationing in Zanzibar or Kigali, just because it's much cheaper and much easier for me to go Bamako to Paris than fly Bamako to Kigali. So as long as we don't have air connections in Africa at a cheaper price, it costs me the same amount. If tomorrow I want to fly Bamako to Dakar, which is a flight of 1 hour 15 minutes, I would pay 500 euros. 500 euros. I can fly Bamako to Paris less than 500 euros. If I am in Paris, I can go the same length of flight. I can go from Paris to Barcelona, for example. If I want to spend two days in Barcelona, I will pay 60 euros on EasyJet. And also, as an African, I have a Malian passport. If I want to go to South Africa, I need a visa. And if I want to go to Europe with one visa, Schengen visa, I can visit 27 countries in Europe. If I want to go to Rwanda, to South Africa, to Kenya, to Uganda, I have to get a visa for each country. So this is what really we need to develop on this continent. If we want to develop this continent, if we want to give hope to these young people, instead of going into terrorist groups and killing innocent people, that's what we have to do. That's what our politicians have to do. That's what our governments have to do. They really need to free intra-Africa trade. We should be able to take our car from Joburg to Algiers. As long as we don't do that, it will be very difficult to create all these jobs. Wow. And of course, digitalization is big. I mean, today in Europe, in America, you don't need to go to any government office to get a passport. But in Africa, you have to go and see a government official, and so many administrative red tapes, and each red tape is equal to corruption. Unfortunately. So if we digitalize all this, getting a passport, importing goods, clearing customs, without even leaving your office, you will kill corruption basically by digitalizing all these administrative procedures. So digitalization is big in developing our economies. It's big in combating corruption, which is, as you know, a very big problem on our continent.
Wow, amazing so much, Mossadeck. So I will just transfer the same question to Hennie Botes.
Carl, Mossadeck put it all in a nutshell. You know, I use Nigeria as an example. If you look at people attacking schools to kidnap children for money. Now, That's not human. And if you look at Boko Haram, how many people have joined Boko Haram purely because government is not producing the results that they believe that they should be producing in voting? Imagine every president in the 54 countries having to give up their status because we have one president. No one wants to get off that seat. No one. So it's going to take a lot of effort, because if you look at many of the African countries, they exploit the mineral resources and their people for themselves. And this is a fundamental issue that has to change, because you are going to have people that revolt. And this is the real big issue. You're driving the youth to drugs. If you look at the drug issue in Nigeria, it's huge, it's massive. There's not much publication, but it is huge. And people are consumed because the reason people take drugs is because they go to another world. It means that they're not happy with this world. So that is very sad, is that people would prefer to live in an oblivious world rather than in the real world, because sooner or later they wake up in the real world anyway. So our governments must be proactive. They must be able, even President Cyril Ramaphosa believes that 100 billion donation or contribution by other countries would fix the 12.5 million unemployed. Now, if I look at the government of South Africa, they are all politicians. Now, an entrepreneur speaks entrepreneurial language, and a politician doesn't understand that. So you have bureaucrats that make policies and implement policies on behalf of entrepreneurs. How can a person earning a pay packet understand an entrepreneur? It's chalk and cheese. So these are really the issues, is that people in the know should be pulled into government in order to assist the stimulation of entrepreneurship. Funding is vital. But if you had to ask, let's say, a bank to fund an entrepreneur with an idea, if you look at the paperwork that you had to fill in, then you're already going to have an issue, because the banks ask that you must prove that you have 3 rand. They will lend you 1 rand, and they will ask you to pay back 2 rand.
Oh, wow.
So how do we stimulate the economy with that type of formula? Because an entrepreneur cannot prove that he has 3 to borrow 1, and he has difficulty in paying back the 2. So we need to create opportunities to access funding. If President Cyril Ramaphosa gets his $100 billion, then I always say to them, the only thing money creates is interest. It has to be paid back. How do you create value with that money in order to pay the interest back? So the politician will say to the community, I've borrowed 100 billion to stimulate South Africa, but we do not have skills where people have a factory, or they produce a window frame, or they know how to serve a lunch in the hotel industry. We need to focus on skilling people in Africa in order for us to be able to pay back loans. So it's not loan money that is going to save a country. The IMF, the World Bank have clamped down on how many African countries, because government does not stick to budgets. So we really have a top management problem in Africa. And that is what needs to change in the way that they look at stimulating entrepreneurship, because you cannot give your mining rights away to the Chinese and they build an airport. That trade-off doesn't make sense to me. We cannot let the minerals go out. We should be starting to work the minerals that we have in Africa. Mossadeck is very right. I speak to many Americans, many Canadians, many Europeans. They are tired of snow. They want to live in Africa. So imagine, we have a beautiful continent. We have wonderful soil. We have lots of sunshine. We have many minerals. But the greed of certain governments prohibit the growth of the people, because then it becomes me, 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 me. You know, there's a wonderful saying. It says some people climb the mountain so that they can see the people. Other people climb the mountain so that people can see them. That's the wrong approach.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Hennie, for all what you shared. So I think we are at the end. I'm seeing. I think we are at the end. So the next thing that I will just say is, before we conclude, is please can you just give advice, to those Africans that will surely listen to this video, but that are staying maybe in the diaspora and that are thinking of going back to Africa, going back to their homeland to invest. My first question there, before giving the general advice on people from the diaspora, is it advisable, first of all, after spending many years in Europe, to invest in your home country? Or do you think it's possible equally to go in other countries? Like me, I'm from Cameroon. Like after doing all my tour, should I obviously have to go back in Cameroon to invest, or can I invest in South Africa equally? Because at least I'm here. So that's the first question that I'm asking equally myself before the general question on the advice that you can give to people from the diaspora thinking of coming back to Africa to invest.
I think Mossadeck already answered that. He said, make your mistakes in your country, and then you start rolling out. You know, Moladi did not build outside the borders of South Africa because there were many issues that we needed to address. Today, when we send a container to Geita in Tanzania for the total pipeline, when they open the container, everything in that container is there for those people to produce a house. So if you look at the ladies go into the kitchen and they put the oven on and they start mixing the cake. The man will read the recipe book. He will read, mix the eggs, mix the flour, put the butter, and the oven has to be on 220 degrees. Then only does he put the oven on. So what you've got to understand is that there's a sequence in things. And that sequence you will only learn by making mistakes. And I think that making mistakes in your hometown or your home country is far less expensive than making a mistake in another country. But you studied in South Africa, so you understand the dynamics. But already, I mean, again, with technology, you are cross-border already in a very short period of time. And that is really the advantage that the youth has today. And you, once again, Carl, you play a phenomenal role by introducing people to potential entrepreneurs. So that link is very important, because they need motivation, they need advice, they need guidance. And I think that, from you, and I think also from your point, you're exposed to people like me and Mossadeck all of the time. So you must tell me when you go public, we can buy shares.
I'll buy shares too.
Yes, okay, good.
Mossadeck, do you have something to add before we after just a general question now?
No, I think Hennie said it all, but definitely I always say to diaspora, your true value is on the continent. If you can, move to the continent anywhere. I mean, you're Cameroonian. You don't have to be in Cameroon. I mean, you can be successful anywhere on the continent. But I mean, Africa needs skills. Unfortunately, in many countries, we have not developed these skills. And the diaspora has the skill that we need. Look at a country like Rwanda. Rwanda did very well because the diaspora came back massively. And especially the women diaspora, they came back massively. And that explained part of the success in Rwanda. So really, the true value of diaspora is on the continent, but it doesn't mean all the Africans everywhere in the world have to come back. No, I mean you can help your country if you're in Toronto, Paris, or London, and you have an established life. You don't want to break that life, but just have a thinking. Think of Africa. Think about Africa. You can even start a project with people, with friends, with family. If you cannot leave London, you can start a project from London. So definitely there is something to do for diaspora. Actually, the diaspora has a very big role to play in the economic development of the continent.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. And now this is the last question. What can you share with us your impression about the Career Show African Mentorship Program? Before saying that, I would just like to recall, because I think you were not there at the beginning, telling a bit what we have been doing and where we are up to. I would just like to give a briefing. Like Career Show African Mentorship Program is an initiative that gives the opportunity to young Africans to learn from great leaders and entrepreneurs, to receive practical training and to better practical training to better launch and manage their activities, and to enable them to be better equipped to seize opportunities. So for this first session, we received 150 applications, and we selected 20 entrepreneurs, 20 African, So they went through a 2 weeks training. We started on the 14th of February, and today is the last day. And it's, as I said, it's the last day for the program, but the start for our community. So we see this as we see this program as the way to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goal, the implementation of intra-African trade, and to develop a powerful network of young Africans who are passionate about the development of the African continent and ready to create value in their communities. So so that's all about the Career Show African Mentorship Program. So the last question now is if you can share with us your impression about the program.
Hats off. It's a great one, really great program. Congratulations.
And all I say is ditto.
Okay.